So let's kick things off this morning with beach and water safety. As we approach the Easter weekend, many persons look forward to going to the beach. Here to tell us about safety of individuals in aquatic environments are educational officers of the Lifeguard Services of the Ministry of National Security, Alistair Livingston, and also Wayne Drysdale. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
So first of all, this weekend, I'm sure you all are going to be busy out in full force because we expect the beaches to be packed to capacity. First of all, what do we do? What don't we do?
Well, you know, even as you prepare to come to the beaches, we ask people to be aware of the situation. You're not going to our beaches to relax. Once you go into the beaches, you know there's a measure of safety. We've been hearing all the warnings over the years from all the months from the different organizations about water conditions. They've been varying so rapidly that, you know, we ourselves cannot even predict what we're going to expect the water conditions are going to be. But, you know, they've been rough. So we're asking the public, you know, as you come out to our beaches or even go into the rivers, we want you to be cautious, be aware, you know. There are many situations, you're going with groups of usually family members, and so watch out for one another. Make sure, especially when you have children, make sure you stay within arm's reach. Always watchful for the kids. You see, one of the situations is when you deal with children, you can't be quite up on the beach and they're in the water. Whatever is happening in the water, you will not know. If the water is pulling, if there's any sort of marine life, you know, this is the season for jellyfish. So if these things are in the water, you will not know. So you are unnecessarily exposing your children to danger. Stay close.
And also, Mr. Livingston, as it pertains to certain kinds of currents, we are warned about certain types of riptides and all of these. I'm totally unaware. Could you please provide us with some information?
Well, right now we're in the season of more or less rough seas. And rip currents you mainly are found on beaches that have waves, more north coast, east coast. And how could we recognize the rip currents? Rip currents are formed on beaches that have waves, and when the waves come up and that water subsides, on the surface of the water has a drop. That water, when it subsides, concentrate into that area, continuously start to dig. You can recognize a rip current by the ripples, or you're going to see that channel of brownish water churning up to the top. You're going to see that channel. Sometimes you may even see debris in that area pulling seaward. When you have the surfs or the waves coming in, that force of or that body of water that's going back out or seaward is going to actually separate. It's going to have a separation in the wave. These areas, we advise people to stay away from them. Try to go to beaches that are manned by the lifeguards. The lifeguards also mark these areas with the red flags. Red flags indicate dangerous areas, mainly rip currents, rocks, or some form of existing dangers. Adding to the rip currents, we advise people to observe where the flags is. Do not cross the red flags. You stay in the areas away from the red flags. If they are not red and yellow marked, you stay between the red flags. Speak to the lifeguards. They're going to guide you accordingly to where. You're not a good swimmer, you do not go beyond waist depth because it's very, very dangerous. Once you cross that waist depth, your body gets more buoyant, you can float. And when you have that body of water coming in, you remember you're going to have an increase when the wave come in. So if that water is a chest height and you have that wave, it's a possibility that it could reach your mouth or over your head. And also adding to that, when a wave come in, we also have what you call the backdraft or the pull. You may get pulled under the wave, or you may be covered, or you may be tumbled, or you may be sucked into the rip current. So we need to exercise that caution when we go to beaches that don't have lifeguards. Take time, observe the areas, stay center of the beach. Do not go deeper than waist depth. Do not use flotation devices also, because what happens when you're on a flotation and you're near the current, it tends to draw you in easier.
Yes.
Wow. Now, what about great swimmers? They may be a little bit more confident and think, well, there's no big deal, I'm going to manage. What advice do you have for those who think they're excellent swimmers?
Well, certainly great swimmers also get in difficulty. and especially those who are not familiar with the ocean. We have swimmers that are quite competent in pools and different environments, but once they reach out into the open ocean, they now have to be aware that, you now have other existing forces out there, especially one of our main reasons for loss of lives are these rip currents. You're not only exposed to the rip currents, but you're exposed to other vessels, marine vessels, these jet skis, boats, which present another danger because these users of these crafts as well out there to enjoy themselves. And through their activities, it may create a dangerous situation for swimmers who feel quite confident to go out. So, we ask you, as you go along swimming, stay closer to shore, be aware of these situations, be aware that you're not the only one, be aware that, yes, there may be other marine life as well that may exist in the area. That may create little issues. So be cautious. If you're swimming and you hear the little humming of the engines, stop, raise your head of these boat engines, look for where they are. Let us try to be as safe as possible going through this Easter vacation and beyond, But here we are where everybody's coming out to have a good time. So although you can swim, be cautious. And then we have those who think they can swim. And that's the ones that present the bigger problem, They are the ones that believe they can do, and only when they are reached into deeper waters, they realize, hey, I can't make it, And they are the ones who usually present the biggest problems.
Yeah, is it advised that even the good swimmers should have someone with them while they go out because you get cramps as well?
Yes.
So that's the advice.
Our advice to anybody going to the beaches, anywhere there's water, we tell you never swim alone. Your information is correct. Anytime you go there, you should always have someone. Anything that could happen to you, at any time, at least somebody will be there to assist or call for.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, Mr. Livingston, as we said, it's the vacation time. People are in relaxation mode. They may be tempted to take along with them the alcohol. What advice do you have for those who may be intoxicated and thinking about taking a little dip?
Well, alcohol and water don't mix. Right? Alcohol actually impairs the judgment. It slows down your reflexes. It actually it thins the blood as well. So when you go to the water, some people think that alcohol warm you up. You actually lose more body heat when you consume a greater level of alcohol when you go into the water, which also creates that body temperature, body core warmness to drop, and it also could induces a lot of cramp. So, and it's not safe because when you go there in the water and you're intoxicated, your movements are restricted, you don't see clearly, you don't move clearly, your judgments are off. It's a no-no. Once you consume an alcohol and you go to a group, you leave those people on what you call the dry or the hard. You do not venture into water. You don't ever take that risk because there are so many existing dangers or mishaps when you consume alcohol and you get into water. So my advice is that's a no-no. You don't enter, you don't venture to get close or into the water, right? Always designate somebody to, to monitor the level of alcohol that you consume, right? When you're around the water and make sure it's safe. Also, adding to that, the driving, you don't partake into,
of course.
When you have that alcohol level, you don't venture into the driving vehicles or moving vehicles, anything of this sort, right? I do stress on that. It's a very, very dangerous factor because when someone is rescued and you have to do emergency advance, the alcohol also creates a lot of problem for me, the rescuer, and when it gets to if it's more serious, for the doctor, anesthesia and all of these things.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's so much.
Very interesting. Mr. Drysdale, now this is not just for those venturing into the ocean, into the seas, but the rivers as well.
Yes.
These are precautions that you'd like to probably mention. Also, as it pertains to the rivers, we tend to carry our big pots and cook up a storm and you're extremely full and then you want to go into the water.
Yeah.
What advice do you have?
Yes, the river is a place to eat and drink as well. And from the time we finish eating, we're ready to swim.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is two things. One, a person could go swimming after eating and they could cramp, obviously, or restriction of one of the muscles, that would cause them to panic and probably lose their lives. But the other side of it is that someone can also get upset. When you get upset, you can, of course, and it has happened, maybe you can vomit and you can choke on that same vomit and lose your lives. So we advise people wait at least 1 hour after eating before going to swim, you know? And especially as we are there at the rivers, people, you know, you have to understand something about the rivers. The depth of the river varies. At one point it could be shallow, the next step you take it's going to be deep. So the bed of the river itself is inconsistent. And the more you bathe, the more the water turns up, the less you see, you know, and it becomes even more dangerous. So, you know, we ask people to be very cautious and be aware of all these type of dangers. We also like to go climb and jump, or climb and dive. I mean, there's a favorite. You go to any river, you see the camping groups or the hikers, from the time they arrive, they run up on a rock and decide to jump or dive. Because
show their skills.
And what about the projections that are under there? Pieces of bamboo, rocks, whatever. You see, we tend to feel comfortable. We were here last week. We know about this river. But things move all the time, right? And, you know, we've heard stories. We've been there and seen people who actually have jumped and lost their lives on these projections. You understand? I mean, and it's a very sad thing. So we ask people to be aware, cautious. Even as you go to the river banks, be aware where you're standing. The water could also wash away. As you go to the edges, the banks will crumble. You know, some rivers may have overhead areas, overhanging rocks or so. Be observant from above, you know?
Mr. Livingston, very important question. You mentioned earlier that you would advise people to go to beaches where there are lifeguards. Which beaches in Trinidad and Tobago currently have lifeguards? And my last question to you would be, do these beaches have an adequate number of lifeguards?
The beaches that have lifeguards, we're going to tackle the north, which is the more populated area. People tend to go, we starting from Maracas, then we have Tyrico, we have Las Cuevas. And when we go east, northeast, we have Manzanilla, Miaro, we have Salive, and Toco. And going to the south, we have Vestini, Lucero, and Quina. The hours that these beaches function are 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And yes, the necessary mechanism was placed to have all lifeguards on duty for the holidays. So lifeguards are going to be out in full force, but we do ask that public do exercise that level of safety. Do not venture into using flotation devices. Don't try to go beyond your swimming ability. Don't let children get away from your hands reach. Exercise caution. Beware of waves and so forth. All right, again, alcohol and water don't mix. Bear that in mind. And, you know, try to be safe. Added to that, we have the campers on beaches that don't have lifeguards. I like to stress on when you go camping, try to indulge in getting some form of rescue aid, either a bottle, a flotation device with a length of a few lengths of rope. In the event of that someone gets into difficulty, you don't have to go in. Don't attempt to make what you call a contact rescue by giving another person who's in distress your hand or making that body contact. Use the rope, a piece of bamboo or something to reach out to them. Make sure also that you have safe footing, right? You don't go into the deep and try to reach someone. You're also going to endanger your life. Make sure that you're on a safe ground or on a water that is shallow that you can manage to assist that person. Always bear in mind also, if you're going to do that rescue or assist someone, you always call for help or assistance. Do not attempt to get in there by yourself.
Great. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. And just to remind you, drinking and driving, definitely a no-no, but also drinking and swimming, also a no-no.